Hi everyone, let's talk taxes. This is a simple guide to taxes and expenses for flex drivers. Now, some of the information contained herein will apply to other gig jobs, but I'm focused primarily here on Amazon flex drivers. And the information contained in this presentation is for general information only. I strongly suggest that you consult a tax professional, as this is not intended to replace the information you would receive from a reputable tax consultant. But I do hope you'll find this information helpful and maybe help you get ready for your taxes this year. So, at the end of the year approaching rapidly, it's time to prepare for the dreaded taxes we all hate, but they're much too important to ignore. This presentation will cover basics of preparation for taxes, covering revenue, deductible expenses, and gathering the documents you will need as you prepare to file your taxes for 2021. I'll go over some of the forms you'll need, documentation required, and other tax essentials. Before we get started, you need to understand a few important terms. As an Amazon Flex driver, you are an independent contractor, not an employee of Amazon. As such, you're responsible for all taxes, as Amazon does not withhold taxes from your semi-weekly pay. Additionally, you will be required to pay self-employment tax, which is 15.3% of your taxable income. If your expected income is more than $600, you should be paying these taxes quarterly. If not, you may be subject to penalties and fines for failure to file these quarterly reports. If you haven't done so this year, don't worry about it. The penalties are not too bad. They may get you for a little bit of money, but realize that in the future, it's to your advantage to file these quarterly reports so you can avoid any future fines and penalties. So the forms you'll primarily be needing is your 1099 NEC. That is a 1099 non-employee compensation. You'll receive this from Amazon at the end of the year, showing the total amount of revenue you've received while driving for Amazon Flex. Also, you'll need an IRS Form 1040 Schedule C. This schedule is the most important part of your tax return. This is where you will be able to list all of your expenses and deductions that you've incurred while the operation of your business. I'll go into this form in a little more detail later in the presentation. This is what the forms look like. On the left, you see the 1099 NEC. You'll get a copy of this form when you download it from Amazon. It'll have your name, address, your social security number, etc. Amazon will fill this information out for you and totally and completely. You just download it. This is equivalent to getting your income statement from a regular employer. So this will be filed with your tax return. On the right side is your Schedule C, profit or loss from business. You can download this form from the IRS if you want to download one just so you can see it. Go to irs.gov/forms. You can download a copy of it with the instructions. If you'll notice on the form, it talks about automobile expense and also deductible expenses for offices and other expenses. It's got very specific instructions on how to do that. So you can download a copy and the instructions so you'll see what's required. I'm not going to go into great detail here, but I will go into a little more detail regarding automobiles. So what expenses are deductible for your taxes as a flex driver? Well, the biggest expense deduction you will have is the use of your automobile and the related expenses. You have two choices on how to deduct your auto expenses. You can have the standard mileage deduction of 56 cents per mile, or you can use what's called actual expenses. Now, actual expenses require you to keep a receipt for all of your gas, any other expense for your car for repairs, including oil changes, which I'll show you on the next slide. but generally it's easier to use the 56 cents per mile, and normally that will give you a higher deduction. You also can deduct regular and ordinary business expenses, including office supplies. That includes things like even pens or Sharpies if you use to mark packages. If you use totes to put your packages inside the car. If you buy signs to put on your car saying Amazon Flex. Um, Basically anything that you use in the ordinary course of business, that's deductible. Uh, auto, your auto insurance is deductible as a percentage of mileage used for using the vehicle in the course of business. Uh, that will come from your percentage used of the business part of using your vehicle in work. Your telephone's also deductible. If you use a dedicated phone for Amazon, then you can deduct the cost of the phone and your cell service. If not, if you use your regular phone, you can deduct a percentage of your phone bill as a business expense. Also, if you maintain a home office, which there are advantages to maintaining a home office, however, the IRS is really picky about this. It must be a space separate from a regular living area that is maintained solely for the purpose of conducting business. It cannot be a living room that you have a desk stuck in. It's got to be a completely separate space. Uh, you can figure out the square footage of this space, and whatever percentage of your total square footage is, you can deduct a percentage of your rent or your mortgage payment, as well as home taxes if you own the home. You can also deduct a portion of your utility bill, also your home internet service. So there are advantages to having a home office, but please understand that this is a big red flag for the IRS, and it very well could lead to an audit. So if you decide to utilize a home office, just make sure all your ducks are in a row, because it could lead to an audit. But there are advantages, because then you can deduct your mileage from home to the station to pick up your packages, because they consider you working from home, and then going to the station is part of your business travel. So what automobile expenses are included in the 56 cents per mile? Gasoline, tires, brakes, front end alignment, oil changes, and any other ordinary repairs and maintenance on your vehicle. So the mileage you deduct start from the time you arrive at the station until you end your block. You can also calculate the mileage from the end of the block back to the station or home, whichever is less. Um, so let's say it takes you 15 miles from home to the station. You cannot deduct those 15 miles for tax purposes. It starts when you arrive at the station. But once again, when you finish your block, you can go on your map and put in your home address, see how far that is, put in the station address, see how far that is. Whichever of those two mileages is shorter, you can add those miles to your miles for the day and deduct those miles. Now understand that mileage logs are extremely important. The questions it's going to ask you on the Schedule C, it will say, when did you put your vehicle into service? It's going to ask for the beginning mileage at that time, at that date. In other words, what was the mileage on the vehicle when you put the vehicle into service? It's going to ask for the ending mileage at the end of the year. And then it will ask you for the percentage of miles driven for work purposes. That's where your log will come in. You will have the mileage driven for work versus the total mileage driven. That's how you come up with the percentage of miles used, the vehicles used for work purposes. There are several mileage tracker apps that are approved for IRS use, such as Hurdler, Everlance. I think Stride has one. Uh, QuickBooks self-employed has a tracker in it. I have found that some of these trackers, some of these mileage tracker apps are not real accurate. Nothing can beat a handwritten log. So you can do it however you wish to, but nothing beats a handwritten log. Um, an accurate mileage log will reflect the mileage your vehicle is used while on duty. So if you have a separate vehicle that you use only for Amazon Flex, it may be to your advantage to have a separate vehicle, and in which case you can utilize an accelerated depreciation for that vehicle. Check with your tax specialist in that regard for full information. It may give you a bigger tax deduction. Um, So here's the spreadsheet that I use to calculate daily profit and loss of my box when I'm using Amazon Flex or when I'm doing my box. It allows me to input mileage, revenue, gas purchases, and other purchases for the vehicle, other purchases for business use. Column 1 is the date. Column 2 is my odometer beginning from home. Column 3 is the odometer reading when I arrive at the station. Column 4 is my odometer reading at my last drop. Column 5 is the odometer reading at home or the station, whichever is closer. The next column is the total miles driven for the day. The next column is the amount of deductible miles. And then I've got to calculate, I've got the equations built into the spreadsheet where it multiplies deductible miles times the 56 cents per mile, which gives you your tax deduction on mileage. And then if you skip over to the revenue, so the tax deduction is $70, revenue was $68, so I lost $2 on this route. These aren't real numbers, I just plug some numbers in here. Now, also I've got columns for gas purchase, where I can put in how much money I paid for gas that day. If I put gas in the vehicle, once again, a receipt is required. Other vehicle expenses, these may be or may not be deductible depending on which method you use, but a receipt is required. And then other purchases. Maybe I went to the store and bought something for my car that day, or something, no, something for my for work. Maybe I went and bought new totes for my vehicle. Maybe I bought signs for the car on the internet, whichever it may be. But once again, receipts are required. Uh, the last column is where I can put purchase memos. I can just put down what it is I bought, whether it's a deduction or whether it's not, just any kind of general notes I want to put in. I do have this spreadsheet available in 30-day in 30-day blocks, to where you can do one per month, or 31-day blocks. So you can do one per month. That way, at the end of the month, you can look and see how much you made that month, or what your estimated income is for that month. And that way, you can know at the end of 3 months what your estimated taxes would be. If you would like a copy of the spreadsheet, you can email me at steve@theflexperts.com. I'll be happy to send you the spreadsheet in Excel format. You can then take that copy of the spreadsheet. You can utilize it in Google Pages, or if you have an Apple phone, you can use it in Numbers. So any way you wish to use this, it can be used. You can just plug the numbers in and put it on your phone. If you maintain to copy your receipts, if you decide to use your phone to take a picture of the receipts, make sure you put those pictures in a folder and keep them by month. And you may even separate them by gas receipts and then other purchases, but keep them monthly. You can make one folder for like October, and then make a subfolder for gas receipts, another one for other receipts. so that way you have them separate from your regular photos, your personal photos. I strongly suggest that you save those photos to the cloud or to somewhere where they cannot get lost. If you have any questions, need additional help, feel free to email me. Once again, my email address is steve@theflexperts.com. Feel free to contact me. I will answer any and all emails. I hope you found this a little helpful. If I can do anything at all to help you in this regard, feel free to contact me. I appreciate your time. I hope this helps. And thanks for your attention.